Why not? Bereshis bara Elokim, doesn't he want us to know what happened before Bereshis?
Oh, look in the Medrash.
Can we discover it? What is
Medrash
that?
is always talking about what happened before.
What does it mean for Hashem to exist without? What does it look like? What are the adjectives? What words can we use to describe Hashem's existence before the world? Maybe the vocabulary is out there. I don't have it. I can't. My imagination can't even come up with it. There's limits, because if I never had coffee, I can describe a lot of similarities. I don't know what it means to operate outside of time. I've been bound by time since I'm born. And the world is bound by time. So I don't know what it means to operate outside time.
But you know that there was a time that there was no time.
Right. But the Rambam himself says we only describe Hashem as not bound by time, not bound by space. We use the negative because we can't describe him in the positive.
Okay.
So why does the Rambam say we can't describe him in the positive?
So let's work with that. There was only him means there was nothing that we can think of, because all of that was created. There was just him.
Right. Which I don't know what that means. What that looks like.
You know what it's not.
Right.
So how did it go from just him to all sorts of stuff?
Precious.
What happened?
He chose to create a world.
He chose.
Right.
Now that's a massive choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And since there was nothing else,
right,
what is it he chose?
To create a world.
Meaning to create something that doesn't exist.
Right.
Which means it wasn't the existence that attracted him. Right?
Right.
He didn't say, oh, that world is nice.
Right.
No, there was no world.
Right.
So whatever motivated creation was just him.
Right.
Without any input or, right? That means something from nothing.
Right.
If it was just him that had this Raton, then the Raton is him. Because there was nothing else. There was just him. So what do we know about the Eibishter? First thing is that before there was anything, he already wanted. So that want is just him, because there was nothing else.
Agree entirely, which is why Shalosh Shiras is a very big Indian for me. Ratzon Shabbat Raiva Deraivan, the moment before creation, agreed. The difference is, I say, I don't know what it meant for him to exist before he created. He expressed some form of a Ratzon, but I don't know. I know what my Ratzon is, and I know he wants me to connect to it as Ratzon, but I can't know what that means.
But you know
for
that
him
it
to have
came
a Ratzon.
from him.
Yeah, of course it did.
When there was nothing
Right,
else.
right.
So it's basically...
The ultimate act of benevolence.
No. Benevolence to whom?
The ultimate to that which he was about to create.
Then creation motivated him.
Right. Motivated by
Yesh
benevolence.
Huh?
Motivated by benevolence. I don't know why he's motivated. That's my boundary.
No. It's not a boundary. It's an insight. There was nothing to motivate him,
right,
other than himself.
Right. Which means he wants us here.
And that want is absolutely essential. That's him.
I don't think we need to finish the sentence with that. Where I'm more comfortable finishing that sentence is, there was nothing. He created something that filled a want or a need for him. How could he be omnipotent, infinite, and have a need or a want? I'm looking forward after 120 to understand what it means, Klape Shmaya, to have a want or a need. But I'm not going to sit here and try to explore and suggest and creatively understand Elokus's need and want. I've gotten as far as I think we can go. He knows that nothing existed before us, so he knows that we know that he created us to fulfill something. What he was fulfilling, because he's different than I can't know, and I'll find out when I get there.
We do know. We know that there was nothing but him.
Right.
So whatever he did was him.
Right.
It wasn't a shopping list.
Right.
So creating the world is him. Because there was nothing else.
Right.
The fact that it's him, he hides. That's called tzimtzum. So we know that whatever the Ratzon Hashem was or is not borrowed. It didn't come from outside of him. That would be apikursus.
Right.
It came from the internal essential him, when there was nothing else but him.
I stop at even using vocabulary about the essential him, because him is not the same word as him for me and you.
Right.
And essential is not the same word essential. There's nothing about him that's similar to us. He's the Ribono Shalom, he's the Eibishter. So he gave us vocabulary that it's okay to use about him, but then there's other vocabulary.
You can't argue that. You can't argue not knowing.
The Rambam says we speak about Hashem in the negative based on our experience because we can't know what he is. So when we talk about knowing his essential, we can't know that.
Okay. So if you're arguing not knowing, then there's no point in conversation.
Okay.
Really, I mean, that's not a
right.
It's not an intelligent conversation.
No, it is. I think that that's what I've been saying. There are limits to the conversation. So I agree. At some point, there's no point to the conversation.
And we're already there.
Because when the Rambam says we can't describe God in the affirmative, only in the negative, what he's not. What does the Rambam mean?
I don't know.
But you're comfortable exploring and climbing the ladder of describing him in the positive.
So wait a second. We describe Hashem as being all-knowing?
We describe him with what he gives us to describe him as.
Does he know?
Yeah.
Because
that's how he wants us to relate to him, as all-knowing.
And he wants us to relate to him as being essential, because there was nothing before him.
He wants us to relate to him as there being nothing before him.
Okay. So if there was nothing before him,
right,
then everything that comes from him is him.
Right.
So when you say Ratzon Hashem, you don't mean a Ratzon he acquired at some point in history. You're describing him.
Okay.
So, getting to the core of the issue, saying Hashem needs is a little misleading.
Okay.
Because it sounds like he wants or needs something that he doesn't have.
Right.
Which is not really correct.
Right.
When we say Hashem needs, we mean Hashem is essential.
What does it mean?
He is what he is. He's not faking.
Okay.
So when he says, I want you to do the mitzvah, that's him talking. Right? So instead
we could have started with this. It would have been a very short conversation.
So instead of saying Hashem needs the mitzvah,
right,
the right way to say it would be the mitzvah is essential to him.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Yes, but most people have no idea what that means. So if I said the mitzvah is essential, they would say, oh, yeah, sure.
I understand it, but then we get caught up in the semantics of need. Like I said, we could have started with this and it would have been 5 minutes. Because agreed, we both agree we both agree it's misleading and not fully accurate to say need, because need suggests something's missing.
Right.
And we both agree that it's essential. If it weren't, we wouldn't be here and he wouldn't ask us.
Right.
So we agree.
Okay.
So
the mitzvah is essential to him.
Yeah.
Which means it can't be any other way.
If he chooses one thing, doesn't mean there are no other options.
Essential has no choice.
Why?
If
could Hashem have not created the world?
No.
He had to create the world. Okay, now we started the whole conversation, but I gotta go.
That's why when we use the word essential, it leaves people with
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
well, let's pick up from here. But that's an interesting formulation. Let's abandon the whole needs. Let's ask the question differently. Could Hashem have not created the world?
Could Hashem not be Hashem?
I always understood it was only meaningful that Hashem created the world because he didn't have to. But once he had to, then is it even meaningful?
Yeah, it's him.
Who's him?
It's much more meaningful.
What's him?
Everything. This is all him.
What's everything? I know who you are. You're sitting here, we're talking, we're connecting, we're emoting. What's it?
Tefillin. Tefillin is him.
Right, so that's where...
Shabbos is him.
Right.
No?
That's where there's a lot more work to do. A lot more conversation to be had.
But look at how significant this is. It's a whole new tefillin.
But we could have started, we agree there's a panemius to tefillin, which is more than just the boxes and the straps and the harshes.
How much more?
We've agreed. We would have agreed that at the beginning. There's a penimius limits of tefillin.
But we're still not agreeing. You're still thinking, no, it's all optional. The word essential means not optional.
How do you understand the Medrash that Kodesh Baruch Hu was Bola Olamos Macharivan before he came to this world? Which one was the essential one?
This one.
What were the earlier ones? He's able to make mistakes. What happened earlier?
No, it's just a process
What happened?
to lead to this.
He doesn't have processes. He's Hashem. We couldn't get to the finished product to start with.
It's an old kasha. Why do you have to have a Sarah Memoris? Okay, but that's all the method. The question is,
he
what
was
is
Bora
this?
Olamos Macharivan.
Yeah.
What's he trying to tell us with that?
That he
If
created.
Olam is essential, how could he be
This
machar?
olam is essential.
How could he be machar?
This olam is essential.
If it were so essential, he wouldn't have had to get there. It would have been essentially what he started with.
That's besides the point.
Why? No, that's the point. The whole argument is everything that exists is so essential. It is him, and he couldn't have not done it.
And the proof
Only
is,
he didn't do it at first.
Right, and that's the proof.
So that's the proof. That's the proof
That
for
this
me.
is essential.
If it were essential for the omnipotent infinite, he couldn't have first had to go through others. He would have gone right to the essential. That's what the word essential means.
On the other hand, he created Shemayim.
I couldn't learn to walk before I started breathing. Breathing is essential.
So besides the question is,
No, I think it's very
if
much
it's
the point.
essential,
Right?
then it's not optional. Is that correct?
If it's essential, it's not optional. I need to think about that.
That is the punchline. Everything
I
starts.
know what essential means for me and you.
All right.
I don't know what essential means for him. But that's where we're going to get stuck every time.
Yeah. Because not knowing, you can't argue against it.
Right. But I think our whole religion is based on admitting and agreeing that there are things we can't know.
No. Our whole religion is based on how much we can know.
With the concession that we can't know
That
everything.
eventually.
But that there's a lot that's off the table.
No.
The Rambam Menachos Day, Yud Gimli Karim is filled not with a lot of what we know. It's also what you can't know.
Where does it say that?
Anthropomorphism.
No.
And Moshe's the Avan Avim, don't think Moshe's
Where-
the same
where-
as you.
Where
There's
the
a lot of
Yud Gimel Tiflim does it
differences.
say that?
There's a lot of differences that are communicated that we need to know those differences before we start.
So that we would know what to reach for.
Maybe, but also know the boundaries so we don't fall off the cliff.
We know the boundaries, but we haven't reached them.
Now we're back again. Now we're back.
Yeah, so assuming we've
Friedman,
reached
it's
the
a good
boundaries is
I hope it was a discussion, not a debate. I hope it meant that. I'm not looking to debate. I'm looking to learn and understand. But I am still stuck at
but you can't
applying
be
the word
looking-
essential to Hashem and
Wait,
applying the
you
word
can't be
essential to me.
looking
I don't
to-
think is the same.
You can't be looking to understand when you think we can't understand.
No, I could be looking to understand within the boundary and caution of
So
knowing that
where
things we
is
can't
that boundary
understand.
for you?
When I can confidently describe the essence of Hashem,
Which you can't.
which I can't.
So that's it. It's over.
No, there's still a whole lot to talk about.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you know? Maybe we've reached it.
Because he gave it to us. I believe in Torah Messinai.
What does that mean?
I believe in Torah Messinai. I believe Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us and said, talk about all of this. This, you could try talking about. The Gemaras don't talk about Ma'aseh Merkava. There's a lot of boundaries of what we can't talk about. The whole sugya in Chagiga about Ma'aseh Merkava, the whole sugya about Pardes, the whole sugya as part of our Masorah of the things that stop trying, don't think you're going to get there.
Right.
Plenty have, they fell off a cliff.
Right.
So I said, well, that's a very cautionary tale.
So
He
has
then
that-
said, here's a whole lot to talk about. Go and talk and you'll know so much that I want you and revealed to you to know about me and connecting to me and what to do and how to live life and how to find meaning and purpose.
So in terms of knowing him, you haven't made any progress in the last year?
Made huge progress.
So where is the limit?
Where the limit is where my Rebbe and where my Masorah, where I think the Bali HaMasorah tell us it is.
I think you've passed that already.
Why?
In the last year, you've gone beyond that.
I haven't learned anything that my Rebbe would be disappointed in me for learning. I haven't learned anything that even those who don't learn it would think it's off the table. But if I started to dive into Ma'aseh Merkava, if I thought I could enter the Pardes,
Yeah.
I think I'd be in trouble.
And what is the paradise? Where does it begin?
That's a good question. But we agree. Where we put the line, we could disagree. But I assume you also agree that there's something called Merkava and Pardes and that there's limits. The question is where we put the line of
And
what we
we're
can know.
very far from that line.
Okay, that's an approach.
Because if we've reached it, then why are we talking?
There's so much to learn, there's so much to talk about.
About mice and Berkova.
No, we could talk about the line. That's also an interesting conversation, where to put the line. But to debate if there is a line, we both agree. So that's not worth debating. Question where to put it, we can debate where to put it. So I put a line at saying that the word essential means the same thing for Hashem as it means for me. I don't know that I'm comfortable. And maybe I'll grow comfortable with that. As of now,
that's a little dangerous, because there are people who say that Yom HaShishi doesn't mean 6 days.
right?
That's it. So Torah is finished.
No, the Ramban says that. He's not in trouble. The Ramban says until the sun and the moon were created and the day wasn't 24 hours, then it's a new day. I'm comfortable with what the Ramban was comfortable with.
So Shabbos is not Shabbos. It's not really the 7th day.
It is in the way he wanted us to understand it. But the 7th day might have come after a very significant amount of time, more than a 24-hour day, the way we know it. That's the Ramban. Ramban I'm okay with. I think I'm in good company.
That's a problem with the Ramban, no?
No, that's a good question. It should be explored. In the 7 days and the 7th day. The 7th day is just vis-a-vis how
So I'm just using that as an example. You can do that with anything. You can do that with, say, Chayev Misa. You don't mean Chayev Misa.
That's a kasha on the Ramban. Okay.
Besides the Ramban, everything in Torah, if you don't take it as factual, there's no Torah.
Right. But I think there's still a difference between that and applying the word essential to Hashem the same way we apply it to ourselves. Or arm, or ratzon, or need, or jealousy, or anger.
Okay, so that basically Torah means nothing.
No, that doesn't mean nothing. He used those words intentionally. He wants us to take something. I want the 5-year-old to understand.
So
the 5-year-old should never get confused to think that he understands the same way I understand. Why?
What does
Why should I go back to that? That to me is the...
What does essential mean?
For me or him?
For anything. What does the word mean? He uses the word. What does it mean?
Yeah, we have to pick up part 2.
Hmm?
We have to pick up part 2. It's always an honor and a pleasure, Rabbi.
Keep probing.
Keep probing. Mitzvah Hashem, together. That's the way I think we'll go.